So the story of the morning here is that the 49ers have, I mentioned it was that they cut Austin Bryant. They also have restructured Arik Armstead this morning, so they have cleared up another $11.78 million in cap space, according to ESPN and Field Yates, who's reporting this. So now the 49ers have $41.5 million in cap space to begin the regular season, by far the most in the NFL. Even after signing Bosa to this massive 5-year extension, they have $41.5 million. They restructured. They created $23 million in cap space by restructuring George Kittle and Trent Williams, and now Arik Armstead. And wow. So the speculation is, are the Niners posturing for another potential move, either via the trade market or free agency? Or are they looking to just carry all this money over next year when they've got several of their key players that need to be, paid next year? The Niners have now restructured Armstead, Kittle, Williams, Warner, McCaffrey, and Mooney Ward, all in this offseason. I don't know if they're done restructuring. It sounds like, I don't know who's left. They can restructure me if they'd like. Coach, you don't mind being restructured.
I'll take a restructure. I'll take a little pay raise. I'll take a bump.
We'll all take a little restructure. They're restructuring Jake Moody. No, but what do you think? A lot of people in the chat are saying Brian Burns. To me, Coach, when I look at the Niners, I definitely want your thoughts on this. I just think that they look like a team that could definitely, you could use an offensive tackle, but there's no offensive tackle to be gotten out there. If Mooney's dinged up, maybe you could use another corner, but heck, you just cut Deshaun Jameson. To me, if there's one area that really stands out, it's defensive line. They have Armstead and Hargrave and Bosa and Drake, but now their backups are Cleveland Farrell, Kerry Hyder, and that's it at defensive end.
Right.
So, they could use another really, really good defensive end. Chandler Jones, Brian Burns, trade for Chase Young, Montez Sweat.
Well, Montez Sweat is your Brian Burns in this whole situation.
Yeah. Do you sign a Jason Pierre-Paul? Do you sign a Melvin Ingram? They need more defensive end depth and better defensive end depth, I think. Burns is not a depth piece. He'd start, but maybe they're looking at Drake saying, you know what? Drake is nice, and he's definitely going to be good in a rotation, but he can't be the starter opposite Bosa. What do you think?
Well, it definitely shows. You can look at it. You can have two schools of thought on this, right? It could either be they're fortifying their base so they can go out and make some real splashes in free agency now, or make sure that they can be pliable or malleable next year when they have all of those picks, and see if they can make moves during free agency next year. Or you could look at it as they're circling the wagons because they know they have to keep more guys coming down the road, a la Brandon Ayuk, right? So one thing that you have to realize is that Brian Burns, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, insert here, whatever defensive end, sexy defensive end that you like, we're still going to have to pay that man, right? The reason why Brian Burns is at large right now, so to speak, is because he wants a bag, right? And we just went through, we're just coming off the heels of what Nick gave us. And yeah, we could have a high-flying defense that could really, make us the tip of the spear. But the money really makes a difference on how a team is built. And if we start spending that kind of money on our defense, then anything less than perfection is going to be not enough. It's not going to be
Coach, we've been talking about it. It's time. It is time for the Niners to win the Super Bowl. This we can talk about being competitive.
But you don't cook the books to do it, though.
No, I know, but let me ask you this: would you? I thought I brought this up many times in the last couple months. Would you like to be the Rams, They spent tons. They got in cap hell. They got their ring, and now they're kind of sitting out a couple dances, waiting to kind
They're
of
still
for the
mid.
reset.
Come on, they're still mid.
Yeah, they're really thin. They're really thin.
Right.
I'm just kind of wondering, do you think the
Well,
49ers feel like they need to? I mean, you saw Kansas City. They're
what
not
does
going to
that
have
look
Chris
like though?
Jones,
Okay. Yeah, they also didn't have Travis
Kelsey.
Kelsey and a ton of drops too.
Right.
By
So I
the way.
mean, you saw them. They lost at home. Um, Philly's got new coordinators, new linebackers,
But
new
they didn't lose at home
safeties.
because of defense. I mean, I felt like they did a good job against Detroit. Larry, what do you think? I thought they did good against Detroit
Yeah,
defensively.
I'll say this. Watching that game, and I was screaming for this guy the entire offseason. If I was going to let Jimmy Ward go, and the Niners did, I was going to replace him with Chauncey Gardner Johnson. And
Yeah,
instead, he went to Detroit. And look how freaking great Chauncey Gardner Johnson is.
he does look good. He does look good. Brian Branch looks really good too.
Yeah.
They look good. Detroit looks good, man.
Detroit does
Um,
look good. Detroit looks like they're on the come.
yeah, they look hungry too. Um, so, well, let's look at it this
But should
way.
they go for it? Should the Niners be, they're already in go for it mode. I mean, do they have to push? I mean, to me, why create $41 million of cap room?
Mhm.
You're doing it for two reasons. One, to roll over at least half of it for next
Right.
year so that you have the chance to bring back Ayuk and keep your core together. That's one. But two, I think so you can add another piece or two to your mix and become a true Super Bowl contender. I mean, they are a Super Bowl contender, but a true Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, being a favorite is contextualized by how the league plays itself out. It's not
Yeah.
there's two sides of being a favorite, in my opinion, Larry. You can be a favorite for preseason, and you could be in the media guide. That's nice, right? And then you can actually get your real coaches and players picks of who's a Super Bowl favorite. And whoever's a Super Bowl favorite, more oftentimes than not, was strong enough that everybody knew it from the very beginning, or stayed diligent enough and kept their head down and their feet moving long enough till people started noticing them down the road. So I don't necessarily want to make moves to all of a sudden win some type of pageant outside of real games, right? And then let's look at it. What does that mean of getting another high price edge, right? You're already saying it yourself. The reason why your trepidation is about paying this kind of money to defensive linemen is because it's the trenches, man. They're the carburetor of the engine. They always have to play. You can't hold him out like he's a receiver or like he's a corner or something. Like he plays line. Like that's like when Spencer was getting rotated in and out as a rookie at guard. That was noticeably awkward to everybody. Why? Because offensive linemen play the entire game, correct? So
Yeah.
for me, I don't.
If,
I don't
ideally, yeah.
when you start paying these guys quarterback money, you got to start treating them like quarterbacks, and they're not. They're linemen. They're supposed to be playing. They're supposed to be going into the fray. They're supposed to be near the line of scrimmage where the most physical and most violent position of the game is. And when you start paying them like this, sometimes you start cornering their skill set for what they're good at and not asking them to be great at everything. That's like a lineman. It's hilarious to me. Like interior pass rusher. Dog, you're a shade. You should be able to stop the run. You're a D tackle. Like, what do you specialize at going to get the quarterback? What the hell is that? This ain't arena ball. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I don't I understand that the boys deserve to get paid everything that they earned, right? Nick, this is not me saying that Nick doesn't deserve his money. He put himself in this position. It's the land of the free, the home of the brave. You deserve to be a private contractor and go get your bread, baby. I ain't mad at that. But from a cultural standpoint, you got to understand what that means. That means that we're treating the most rugged part of our team, the tip of our spear, like a pillow princess. That could be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So be careful about how much we pay these guys to just go and get sacks. I reference these sports cars. DNs, in my opinion, these guys are like exotic sports car. Everybody wants a Lamborghini. Everybody wants a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, but nobody wants to pay that $4,000 oil change. Nobody. So they're fun to have until they start giving you maintenance issues. So
Exactly.
you gotta play them. And that's why with Nick, I understand that the juxtaposition is what we paid him all of this money. We can't just throw him out there. We gotta have him for our gotta have it
They
games,
have
our
no
gotta have it
choice. I
downs.
mean,
But we thank you.
they have no
Perfect is not
choice.
on the menu.
But I
We
mean,
have
beyond
no
perfect, just look at the
choice.
roster. They don't have
Yeah.
any. Who else? Okay, you're playing a game against the Steelers. I've used this stat 5 times, so you've heard it before. Ebukam, Amenahue, Jordan Willis, those 3 guys
Mm-hmm.
averaged in the playoffs in the 3 games 91
Right.
snaps per game. Now, Amenahue played a little bit inside, so he had some snaps where he was at tackle. But those
Mm-hmm.
guys averaged 91 snaps a game in the playoffs. So I'm looking at a depth chart right now before tomorrow's game, and they play tomorrow, by the way. Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, Cleveland Farrell, Kerry Hyder. Those are the only 4 defensive ends they have on the roster. Those guys are going to be playing a ton of snaps. There's just no way around that. I mean, and you mentioned it. I mean, I asked Chris Kasarik to his face 3-4 weeks ago. Chris, you got an awesome number 1 line. Your depth is a little bit depleted. Are you still going to run your guys out there in a rotation? He's like, oh man, I can't play my number 1 guy 70 snaps. I go, I know, but I mean, are you going to play him more snaps? He's like, no, I plan on playing my 2s and my 3s and running out my depth like we always have. Well, if that's the case, then get ready for, Kenny Pickett drops back to pass and in a key situation, and
And
here's
Kerry
Cleveland
Hyder's going
Farrell.
after him.
Yeah, it's Kerry Hyder and Cleveland Farrell off the edge. And those
But
guys are hardly burners.
that's
So
the situation though, Larry. I
I
understand
know.
that those guys, they're not sexy, right? Optically. I
They
give
need
you
more
that.
help there, though.
Oh, okay. Okay. But we got to figure out how much help we need first. We got to play the games,
Yeah.
right? So you don't go in there and, shoot your wad and overspend and go get a guy when you may have had it in your building all along. Brian Burns has, I mean, not Brian Burns, but who's the kid out of Georgia that we picked up?
Brian
Um,
Beal. Or
Brian Bill,
Robert Beal. Robert Beal.
Robert Bill is due to make an appearance late. So we have
Not,
some
I
guys.
mean, late in the year, you mean?
Yeah, late in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some guys inside of the building that we can massage the issue, but the first thing you don't do is panic. And now I feel
I'm
as though
panicking.
you are panicking. I'll tell you this. Now
I want-
go ahead.
I want Brian Burns, man.